Alright, did that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, hey Nikki. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I went ahead and I told him to move the dog for you, okay?
Okay.
So that dog got moved back, alright? So that's what I'm doing for you, okay? I'm blowing that trust out there for you that I'm going to move the dog back, okay, so you can come out and get that ball, alright? So let me know when you're ready and you're comfortable, and I'll let them know you're coming out with your hands up to get it.
Why did a police car pull up that close?
Why the police car pull up that close?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not right there.
Tell them to move it the fuck back. Well, I need to get the phone. I'm on the phone with you.
I know. You don't. I want you to go grab the phone from the porch, okay? That way we don't have to worry about phones dying or anything like that. We have a good, solid line of communication, so I don't miss anything that you're saying. That's all. Like I said, I told you, since I've been here, we've been talking, nothing bad has happened, right? The police haven't come in. They haven't done anything to you.
Where is my sister? Damn. Ain't nobody showed up yet. We're like, what the fuck?
Nikki, that's going to be the same, okay? If you tell me when you're ready and you're comfortable, you can...
In every home, behind every closed door, there's a story waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we dive deep into the hidden truths of domestic crime and the relationships that turn deadly. If you're drawn to real stories, powerful insights, and the shadows most people avoid, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into the whispers they never wanted you to hear. Imagine this. You've been talking to somebody online for a minute. Y'all vibing, everything seems cool. You finally decide to meet up in person. You pull up to the address they gave you. You walk through that door, and that's the last time anybody sees you alive. That's what happened to McCarty Finley. But what makes this case different? The person accused of killing him went on Facebook Live right after, showed his body to thousands of people, and told a story that his family is still fighting to correct. Because according to them, everything the world thinks they know about McCarty, it's wrong. McCarty Finley wasn't living no street life. He was a chef, a good one too. The kind of chef who had people coming back to the family restaurant in Flint, Michigan just because they knew he was in the kitchen. His family owned the spot, and McCarty was right there with them, doing what he loved. No criminal record, never been in trouble. Just a man trying to make it, trying to build something with his family. And like a lot of people these days, McCarty was looking for love online. Dating apps. You know how it goes. You swipe, you match, you start talking. For some people, it works out. For others, well, it leads to something else entirely. McCarty had been talking to someone online for a while. They'd been chatting back and forth, getting to know each other through messages and photos. But they'd never actually met face to face. Not once. Everything was digital up until February 16th, 2024. That's the day McCarty decided it was time to meet in person. The conversations had been going well enough. He felt comfortable. So he drove from Flint to Warren, Michigan, got the address, plugged it into his GPS, and made the trip. It was the middle of the afternoon, around 3 o'clock. Just a regular Friday. But here's where things get complicated. See, McCarty's family says he was catfished. And I don't mean just a bad angle in a photo or somebody using a filter. I mean he showed up expecting to meet one person, and somebody completely different was waiting for him. The address he pulled up to belonged to a 30-year-old woman named Dominic Robinson. She also went by the name Nikki Pop online. And according to what we know now, the picture McCarty had been talking to, the person he thought he was going to meet, that wasn't who answered the door. Now, we don't know exactly what happened when McCarty walked into that house. We don't know what words were exchanged, what the vibe was, whether he tried to leave or if things went bad immediately. What we do know is that sometime between when he walked through that door and the evening hours, McCarty Finley was stabbed. Multiple times. And then Dominic Robinson did something that turned this from a local tragedy into a viral nightmare. She went live on Facebook. Let me tell you something. The Facebook Live situation is what made this case blow up the way it did. Because Dominic didn't just go live to talk. She went live and showed McCarty's body, right there on camera, his lifeless body, just laid out while she talked to whoever was watching. Thousands of people tuned in. Thousands. And while they watching, Dominic is telling her side of the story. She's saying that McCarty sold drugs to her boyfriend. She's saying those drugs led to her boyfriend's death earlier in the year. She's painting a picture of McCarty as a drug dealer who got what was coming to him. And while she's doing all this, the police are outside. They got the house surrounded. They trying to get her to come out peacefully, and she's in there broadcasting the whole standoff. The whole thing. People watching in real time as this woman is barricaded in a house with a dead body, telling the world why she did what she did. Now I gotta pause here because this is important. The police and the prosecutor's office, they never confirmed what Dominic was saying about the drugs. Never. They never said McCarty was a dealer. They never said he had anything to do with her boyfriend's death. But that didn't matter. Because once that video went live, once those accusations were out there, that's what people remembered. That's what stuck. The video spread fast. I mean, you know how social media is. Something that shocking, that graphic, it's everywhere within hours. People sharing it, reposting it, commenting on it. And with every share, with every repost, Dominic's version of events was getting amplified. Her story was becoming the story. McCarty's family had to watch all of this happen. Imagine that for a second. Your loved one is murdered, and you find out because somebody posted it on Facebook. Not a phone call from the police. Not a knock on the door. You scrolling through your feed and boom, there it is. And not only do you see that he's gone, but you also see thousands of people watching, commenting, making judgments about who he was based on what his killer is saying. That's the second death McCarty's family talks about. The first death was physical, when he was stabbed in that Warren home. But the second death, that was the public execution. His body dragged through the digital streets like it was medieval times. Except instead of a town square, it was Facebook. Instead of a crowd gathered around, it was people watching from their phones, their laptops, their tablets. And then came the third death, the character assassination. The standoff with police eventually ended. Dominic Robinson was taken into custody. She was charged with first-degree premeditated murder. Not manslaughter, not a crime of passion. Premeditated murder. That means prosecutors believe this wasn't something that just happened in the heat of the moment. They saying this was planned. And that changes everything, doesn't it? Because if this was premeditated, that means everything leading up to it, the online conversations, the meetup, the address in Warren, all of that could have been part of a setup. The catfish angle starts looking less like a dating mishap and more like a trap. McCarty's family certainly sees it that way. When they held a press conference at their family restaurant in Flint, they were clear about what they believe happened. They packed that space with family members, friends, people who knew McCarty and loved him, and they spoke out because they said somebody had to, because McCarty couldn't speak for himself anymore. His aunt stood up and said something that hit hard. She said, "From our standpoint, McCarty has been murdered 3 times, the first being his physical death, the second a public execution like medieval times, except his body was dragged to the digital streets, the Facebook Live. But the world, why we have to see it. The third death was the character assassination that continues to haunt his memory. Make it make sense. Your nephew gets killed, and then you gotta defend his name because the person who allegedly killed him already told the world a version of events that makes him look like he deserved it. That's what they've been dealing with. Another family member spoke up too, just as emotional, just as determined. McCarty was not a drug dealer, nor did he have a criminal history. McCarty was not an illegal drug user. They kept emphasizing that because they knew what people were thinking. They knew that once that accusation was out there, it was going to stick unless they fought back hard. But here's where it gets even messier. The family also said they believe McCarty may have been intimately involved with the other male, the boyfriend who Dominic claimed had died from drugs. So they not saying McCarty didn't know this woman's boyfriend. They saying the relationship might have been completely different than what Dominic was claiming. Not a dealer and a customer. Something personal. Something intimate. Anyways, that adds a whole other layer to this, doesn't it? Because now we're not just talking about a dating app meetup gone wrong. We potentially talking about complicated relationships, about jealousy, about emotions that run deep when love and loss get tangled up. But the family was firm on one thing. Whatever the relationship was, whatever happened between McCarty and this other man, drugs had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Moving on to what happened in that courtroom, Dominic Robinson was arraigned and charged, first-degree murder. She was expected back in court the following Tuesday, and prosecutors said they had more evidence they were planning to present. The case was moving forward. But for McCarty's family, the legal process felt like it was moving too slow, because every day that passed was another day that Dominic's version of events was out there, unchallenged, floating around on the internet for anyone to see and believe. One of his uncles spoke at the press conference, and his words cut deep.
Nephew McCarty was taken from us in a way that no family should ever have to endure.
Just the pain in that statement, you can feel it. Another family member added,
McCarty died for nothing. For nothing.
And that right there, that's what they've been trying to get people to understand. Whatever Dominic's reasons were, whatever she thought justified what she did, to his family, there was no justification. None. He died for nothing because nothing he did deserved that kind of ending. Girl, the whole situation is just tragic from every angle you look at it.
We go now to an update on a horrific story out of Warren. The family of a celebrated chef who was stabbed to death at a home in Warren is speaking out. Loved ones of McCarty Finley say they want to set the record straight. You may remember the murder suspect went live on Facebook showing the aftermath of the horrific scene while also live streaming the standoff with police. Well, tonight Finley's family is speaking out to 7 News Detroit reporter Ruta Alcenaida, revealing what they insist is the truth that must come out.
From our standpoint, McCarty has been murdered 3 times. The first being his physical death. The second, a public execution like medieval times, except his body was dragged through the digital streets of Facebook Live for the World Wide Web to see. The third death was the character assassination that continues to haunt his memory.
At their family-owned restaurant in Flint, the family of McCarty Finley packed the space Wednesday to share their grief and their frustrations over the narrative surrounding their loved one's death. Finley was stabbed multiple times last Friday at the Warren home of 30-year-old Dominic Robinson. Finley's family says the two had been speaking online over a dating app but had never met before that day.
McCarty was catfished by this picture. But when he arrived at the location, this is who he was met with.
After the attack, Robinson, who also goes by Nikki Pop, was seen live streaming Finley's lifeless body and her standoff with police. It's during that live stream that she claimed the victim had sold her boyfriend drugs that led to his death earlier this year. However, police and the prosecutor's office have not confirmed these allegations. Robinson was charged with first-degree premeditated murder this week.
McCarty was not a drug dealer, nor did he have a criminal history. McCarty was not an illegal drug user.
Finley's family believes their loved one may have been intimately involved with the other male who the suspect was seeing and also passed away, but anything related to drugs is not true. Instead, they say Finley was a celebrated chef and had so much life left to live.
My nephew Mucari was taken from us in a way that no family should ever have to endure.
Doing their best to stay strong, the family chose to speak out Wednesday because Finley's opportunity to do so was taken away.
McCarty died for nothing. For nothing.
Robinson is expected back in court on Tuesday, where the prosecutor's office tells me more evidence is expected to be revealed. In Warren, I'm Rudolph Sinaida, 7 News Detroit.
So, let's talk about what investigators were working with after McCarty's death. Because this wasn't a case where they had to piece together what happened from scattered evidence and witness statements. No. They had something most detectives never get: a literal broadcast of the aftermath. That Facebook Live video became evidence. Everything Dominic said during that stream, everything she showed, the way she presented herself while police were trying to negotiate with her, all of that went from viral content to courtroom material real quick. But here's the thing about investigations. Just because you got video doesn't mean you got the whole story. Detectives still had to go through that house in Warren. They had to process the scene, collect physical evidence, document everything. They had to figure out the timeline, who knew what when, and whether anyone else was involved. The medical examiner had to determine exactly how many times McCarty was stabbed, where the wounds were located, which one was fatal. They had to estimate time of death, figure out if there was any signs of a struggle, whether McCarty tried to defend himself, or if the attack came out of nowhere. And then there was the digital trail. Text messages between McCarty and whoever he thought he was talking to. Dating app conversations. Photo exchanges. Investigators had to pull all of that, verify accounts, figure out exactly how long they'd been communicating and what was said. The boyfriend Dominic mentioned, the one she claimed died from drugs McCarty allegedly sold him, detectives had to look into that too. They had to pull that death investigation, see if there was any truth to her claims, see if there was any connection at all between McCarty and that man's death. Because if she was lying about that, it changes the whole motive. If she was telling the truth, well, that opens up a different can of worms entirely. According to what came out later, police and prosecutors never found evidence to support Dominic's drug dealing allegations. They never connected McCarty to her boyfriend's death, which means either the evidence wasn't there, or the story was never true to begin with. But let me tell you something. When you investigating a murder that played out on social media, you also got to deal with the public. People were forming opinions in real time. Comment sections were filled with folks choosing sides, making judgments. Some people believing Dominic's version, others calling it out as lies. That's not evidence, but it's noise that investigators got to filter through while they doing their job. The Warren Police Department worked with the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office to build their case, and fairly quickly, they felt confident enough to charge Dominic with first-degree premeditated murder. That's significant, because that charge means they believe she planned this. It wasn't a fight that escalated. It wasn't self-defense. According to prosecutors, this was intentional, thought out, and executed. The dating app angle, the catfish situation, that became central to the prosecution's theory. If McCarty showed up thinking he was meeting one person and encountered someone else entirely, and if that encounter ended with him being stabbed multiple times, that suggests a setup. That suggests Dominic knew exactly who was coming and why. Investigators also had to consider whether Dominic acted alone. Was anyone else in that house? Did anyone help plan this? Did anyone know what was about to happen and do nothing to stop it? Those are questions that had to be answered before they could move forward with charges. One thing that worked in the investigation's favor was the Facebook Live itself. Because even though it traumatized McCarty's family and turned his death into a spectacle, it also locked Dominic into a narrative. Everything she said on that video, every claim she made, investigators could check it. And when those claims didn't hold up under scrutiny, that became part of the case against her. Oh, so now we gotta talk about the fact that this case had a digital footprint that most murders don't have. Usually what happens in a crime scene stays between the people involved and the investigators. But this? Thousands of people saw the aftermath. They heard Dominic's explanation in her own words. They watched her interact with police. That video wasn't just evidence for the prosecution. It was something the defense would have to deal with too. How do you explain that away? How do you defend someone who broadcasts their actions to the world? The arrest itself happened after the standoff. Police negotiated with Dominic for hours while she was live on Facebook. Eventually, they got her to surrender. She came out of that house. She was taken into custody, and she was transported to the Macomb County Jail. Her arraignment happened quick. They brought her before a judge, read the charges. First-degree premeditated murder. She was held without bond. The judge looked at the severity of the charge, looked at the circumstances, and decided she wasn't going anywhere while this case moved through the system. Now, court proceedings take time. There's preliminary examinations. There's motions. There's discovery where both sides exchange evidence. But in this case, the family wasn't just waiting for justice through the courts. They were fighting a parallel battle, the battle for McCarty's reputation. That press conference they held at the family restaurant, that was strategic. They knew they had to get ahead of the narrative before it solidified into something they couldn't undo. They had to humanize McCarty, remind people he was more than a body on a Facebook video. He was a son, a nephew, a brother, a chef, a man with dreams and plans and people who loved him. When his aunt spoke about the 3 deaths, she wasn't just being poetic. She was making a legal and moral argument. She was saying that what happened to McCarty didn't end with the stabbing. The damage continued with every share of that video, with every person who believed Dominic's story without question, with every comment that speculated about what kind of person he must have been to end up dead like that. The family made it clear. McCarty was not a drug dealer, nor did he have a criminal history. McCarty was not an illegal drug user. They repeated it because they had to. They knew how these narratives work. Once the internet decides who you are, it's almost impossible to change that. But they were going to try anyway. As the case moved toward trial, prosecutors indicated they had additional evidence they planned to present. What that evidence was, we don't know all the details yet, but the fact that they charged first-degree murder right out the gate tells you they felt confident. They believed they could prove premeditation. They believed they could show this wasn't a random act of violence, but something planned and carried out deliberately. For Dominic's defense, they had a mountain to climb. Not only did they have to contend with the physical evidence from the scene, the medical examiner's findings, the timeline of events, but they also had to deal with that Facebook Live video. How do you defend someone who went on camera and essentially admitted to killing someone even if the justification she gave didn't hold up under investigation? The family kept showing up to court dates. They wanted prosecutors to know they were watching, that they weren't going away, that McCarty's memory mattered and they expected justice. They wanted Dominic to see them too, to know that the person she killed had people who loved him and weren't going to let this go quietly. One uncle said at the press conference, "My nephew McCarty was taken from us in a way that no family should ever have to endure." That statement wasn't just about the murder. It was about the Facebook Live. It was about the public nature of his death. It was about having to grieve while the world watched and judged and speculated. Another family member added, McCarty died for nothing. For nothing. And that's the part that haunts them. Because if Dominic's story about the drugs had been true, it still wouldn't justify murder. But at least there'd be some twisted logic to it. Some reason they could try to understand even if they couldn't accept it. But if the story wasn't true, if McCarty died because of jealousy or anger or some other emotion that had nothing to do with drugs or revenge, then yeah, he died for nothing. Absolutely nothing. The family also addressed the relationship between McCarty and Dominic's boyfriend directly. They said they believe McCarty may have been intimately involved with that man. They weren't running from it, weren't hiding it. They put it out there because they wanted people to understand that whatever the relationship was, it was personal and private, and it didn't involve drugs or criminal activity. Two people knowing each other, maybe caring about each other, that's not a crime. That's just life. But hey, that also meant that if Dominic knew about that relationship, if she felt some type of way about it, that could be the real motive. Not drugs. Not revenge for a death. Just plain old jealousy or anger over a romantic situation that didn't involve her but that she inserted herself into anyway. The preliminary examination was set. That's the hearing where a judge decides if there's enough evidence to move forward to trial. In cases like this, with the amount of evidence prosecutors had, it was pretty much a given that it would move forward. But the family still showed up. They still sat through the proceedings. They still listened to the details, even though hearing how their loved one died over and over again had to be excruciating. Period. This family was not backing down. So what do we take away from all of this? What's the lesson here, if there even is one? McCarty Finley's family said it best when they talked about the 3 deaths. His physical death, the public execution through social media, and the character assassination that followed. And that 3rd death, that's the one that's still happening. Because that Facebook Live video is still out there. People can still find it. People can still watch it. And every time someone watches it without knowing the full story, without hearing from his family, without understanding who McCarty really was, that character assassination continues.